All right, for your fabric, you want to place your pattern on the fabric. You have 4 different sizes from men, you have woman and teenager, a young kid 7 to 12, and a small child 3 to 6. So there's 4 different patterns. So when you place it on your fabric, if you have directional fabric, which this one is, this is some police fabric. So your directional is if everything stands up to the top. Otherwise, if it's just an all-over design, you're fine. You can put it any way that you want. So I'm going to place this. If you do this, you want the nose piece, which is up here, towards the top of your pattern. You're going to place that up here. Now, when you cut out the top piece that's on your front, the front of your mask, you want to make this extension here an inch longer. So you want to be sure and go an inch longer. The reason being is we're going to put a casing in it. So you'll have your pattern cut out and we're going to put this casing in. That will be for your elastic or your ear pieces. Okay, so here we go. Let's cut this out. We're going to go about an inch past. Okay. All right. Okay, so we have our first pattern, and this one's a man's, and we've done it an inch past the piece, and that's what it will look like. So you're going to turn these over to the wrong sides, and you're going to cut you interfacing, iron-on interfacing. If you don't have iron-on interfacing, then just use regular interfacing, and you can just sew it in. I'm using Heat and Bond fusible interfacing. You can use whatever interfacing that you have. Just don't make it too hot. So I've tried the 4 layers of fabric. It's very thick and it's very hard to breathe in. So I think these 4 layers will do okay. So you're going to take your interfacing and you're going to cut it out to the exact pattern. I'll show you here. You're going to cut it out to the exact pattern. Don't use that extra inch, okay? Just like the pattern shows. So you're going to take your interfacing and you're going to iron it on. Make sure that you've got the bumpy side or the side with the glue on the down side. So there's a soft side and then there's a side that's kind of shiny that's got the glue bumps on it. And so you'll press those on, okay? Once you get those pressed on, then it will look like this. So I don't know if you can see this, but right here is where it ends. So we've had our inch passed, okay? Then you're going to take your lining. So I just have used muslin. And you're going to cut it the very same way as you did the lining or the interfacing. Cut it right with the pattern, right at the edge. No extra inch. Okay, take that, do the same thing with your iron-on interfacing. Make sure your glue side is down. You're going to put this on, and you're going to iron that down. Now be careful if it's too big, like this piece has got a little extra, because that will stick to your board or your iron. So if you have a pressing sheet, that works good too. So take these. When you go to your ironing board, the wool mat works really well. It presses from both sides, so top and bottom, so it doesn't take long. You can get all those pressed on. So we've got our police and we've got the iron-on interfacing. Make sure your bubble side is down. The glue side is down on each of them. And then we also have our lining and interfacing. Okay, so these are the same size. These have the inch longer on the end. Okay, now we're going to press, and I like to use the wool mat on this because it presses from the back side and the front, and so you get that on there all the way really nicely. Okay, and then just press these out. And if you have any hangover like that, that's not great. You really should trim that because that will stick to your board. So I always press, which is press and lift up. Once it's on, then you can iron, which is back and forth. So press, press, iron. Press, 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 iron. Okay, so we have these. So then you're going to take them, put them right sides together, and this is where we're going to sew. And these also right sides together, and we're going to sew down the curves. So once you have the deals pressed, then you're going to take and put them right sides together. So the pretty sides going to go together. Okay? I usually don't pin, but you can pin these if you like. Pin these, and you're going to make a seam right here. 1/4 inch right along this curve. Okay? I'm going to do that, and we're going to do that the same way with these pieces. I'm going to put these together, right sides together, and we're going to sew the curved side. And I've got my machine set on the straight stitch, and I've got mine at a very scant 1/4. So just sew that scant 1/4. Okay, and then we're going to sew the lining same way. And I just chain sew as many as you want. You're going to make all together. Okay, cut our threads. All right. So once you've got it sewn, you're going to come in here and you're going to clip this curve just so it will lay flat. We don't want to clip through our threads, so just up to the seam. Okay, I'll do both of them. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to go press again. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to press the seam to one side. So invert that. And here with your iron. You just have to kind of maneuver it to where it's going to all go to one side. Okay. And do the same thing on the lining. All right, so now we've got those pressed. So now we're going to go in and we're going to top stitch right here, and we're going to hold that seam down. I'm going to do it on both of them. You just have to maneuver it to where you can get it on your machine and it's flat enough to do the top stitch. So now you see the top stitch where it's stitched all that down and it's holding the seam down. Same way with this. Okay, so now you're going to do these right sides together. So we'll leave that one out, push this one back in like this, and you're going to match your seams. It's going to match that seam up there. And I just stick a couple pins in it because it likes to move all over the place. Okay, and then match the top. And this is where it likes to pull apart, right in this part, when you're trying to lay it flat. You will not stitch down this side on the sides, just the top and the bottom. Okay, so now we're going to do stitch again, and we're going to stitch 1/4 inch seam again. And I don't run over my pins because that will break your needles. So try not to run over the pins. Pull them as you go. If you need to rearrange, just pull your foot up and you can rearrange your fabrics. Okay, there's the top side. And the bottom side. Okay, cut your threads. Okay, so now we have the mask inside and out. Okay, so we're going to do just around the curve. We're going to clip our seam again just to have it lay better. So not the bottom side, just the top, just around the curves. Okay, then you're going to take and you're going to pull it inside out. And you're going to want to take something in there and kind of run it along your seam. I just have an awl or a stiletto here that I'm using. You can use a chopstick or whatever you have at home. That will kind of push that seam out. Just push it out there like that, or we can iron nice and flat. Okay. And same on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the iron board again. So we've just sewn it, we've turned it inside out, and we've ran our stiletto against here, so we've got this all pulled out. If you don't do that, it will come in there and it will press a crease in it. So just pull it out there where it's right along the edge. Then we're going to press again. So we get a good edge. Again, the wool mats, see how good that looks compared to the ironing board is so much better. I had no idea until I actually got a wool mat and used it how good they work. So they just press from the bottom side and the top, and they work wonderful. Okay, on this side. Again, these are the fitted mask. Okay, so now we've got the mask. So now we're going to press the insides in. We're going to do 1/4 of an inch, and then we're going to take that and press it up and over. So we want to stitch right along the very edge of that, giving us enough casing in there that we can run elastic through it. We're going to do this on both sides. So we're going to press up 1/4 and then up and over. Okay. Up 1/4 and up and over. And even if you have to turn in some of the white, that's okay. On this side, I'll have to turn in a little bit. Okay, so now we're just going to top stitch and stitch this line down and this line down. Okay, so here we are again, and we're going to stitch right down this line. Okay, so, and I'm going to back stitch here because this will have some pulling against it. See how we've got this? And so it's made a little casing right in here that we can run elastic through. So we'll do that on both sides. Okay. Okay, so we've got that, so trim your threads. And this is ready for elastic. Okay, so you're going to take a 7-inch piece of elastic. This is a 1/4 inch elastic and just flat elastic. You can do an 1/8 inch rolled or whatever small that you've got. You don't want it too big because it will be too big around the back of their ear. And then I've just added a safety pin to the end, a small safety pin, and you're just going to stick it in the casing that you've got there and run that through. Okay, so then we've got our elastic in there. You're going to do that to both sides. Okay, once you've got your elastic through, you're going to fold it over on itself, and then you're just going to stitch back and forth right here. Doesn't have to look pretty, it's going to be hidden in here anyways. Same way on both sides. Okay. Yep, I'm not gonna want to stay. down a little bit, and then we'll... Oops, didn't cut my thread. Okay, so it's just like that. So then all you're going to do is pull that elastic and pull that where you've sewn it in the inside so nobody can see it. Okay? And so there you've got your earpiece. And you do the same on the other side. And that's your mask.